Hi, I'm Troy from Studio 33 Guitar. Welcome here. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to look at Taylor Swift's song called Style. This is another fairly simple song with only three main chords: D major, B minor, and G. There's a couple other chords that are mixed in there as well, but the main ones for the song are those three. So we're going to break this song down as usual. I'll start with a really simplified version, a little bit of a simpler rhythm that you can play, and some simpler chord shapes. If you're ready for more of a challenge, you can skip ahead to the more complicated part where we do a more complex rhythm and more difficult chords. If you need some help on some of these chords or some of the strumming patterns that we're using, you can also check out our other channel, Studio 33 Guitar, which focuses more on technique and theory. And you can also visit our website, studio33guitar.com, which has some other free lessons that you might find useful. There's two main sections to this song: the verse section and the chorus section. So let's have a look at the verse first. The first chord you're going to need is a B minor chord. And that can be played as a bar chord like this. You may be familiar with that. If that's a chord that's too difficult for you to do right now, if you're a beginner, I can show you a couple of ways that you can play a simplified version of this chord. One way to play a simplified B minor chord would be to use an A minor chord shape and then move that shape up 2 frets to this position. And that will give you a B minor, but you don't want to play all the strings. You only want to play those 3 strings to get that chord. So then that would sound like this. So you can use your index finger to lightly touch against that high string to keep it from ringing. So you can play those 4 strings. And then the highest one, you'll get muted like that. If you can't quite mute out that high E string and it ends up ringing out, that's not so bad either. That's what's called a B minor 11 chord, and that's not too bad. That'll actually fit in the song as well. You can see the 3 notes that I'm holding down for that B minor chord are the same 3 notes that we're using if we're playing a B minor bar chord. We're just using different fingers. So this can be a good substitute for that bar chord if you're not quite ready for it yet. There's another simpler way to play that B minor chord, which might actually be the most useful way to play it for this song because of the chord that you lead to next. So let's look at that next chord first. That's going to be a G major chord, which looks like this. There's different ways to play G major. Sometimes you'll see it without that ring finger down, or sometimes you'll see it with the ring finger down where the pinky was. I recommend you play it with both of these fingers on that spot, the 3rd fret. Ring finger and pinky, both on there for that G chord. And that will help you when you're switching to some of the other chords, because a lot of times this finger gets to stay in that same position, because it'll be a common note for a lot of chords. Once we have that G major chord, we can easily make it into a B minor by playing a B minor 7. Now don't let that 7 throw you off, but just know that a minor 7 chord can usually be substituted for a regular minor. To make that B minor 7, we're just going to move this middle finger off of this G note and bring it down to right below the index finger, but 2 strings down. And then your pinky finger is going to come off, and you can again use your index finger to mute out that high E string. So we don't really need that note in there anymore. So just gently rest your index finger against that string. You'll have that kind of a sound. So from there you can strum the rest of the strings and it'll give you that sound. So that's a B minor 7. For most of the verse, you're going to be switching between that B minor 7 and the G chord. So the only thing that you're going to have to move is your middle finger from B minor. Middle finger comes up to that G note, and then you can just plug your pinky back down to the G. So you should practice that first. Just get used to making that move, B minor to G, back to B minor, and G. Now another tip you can do when you play that B minor chord is use your index finger to gently nudge up against that low E string, which will also mute that from ringing. So then you can still play all 6 strings. If you've watched some of my other song lesson videos, then you know that we always start with the rhythm really simplified and really straight. It's important to get the chord changes down first in the right timing before you worry too much about what you're going to do with your right hand. So the first thing that we need to do is figure out when those chord changes are. So each of these chords gets played for 2 bars. That means we're going to be counting to 4 twice for each of these chords. So we start with the B minor and we play 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we switch to the G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the B minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. To G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you're comfortable with those chord changes, then you can start making your right hand rhythm a little bit more interesting. The first step would be to start counting eighth notes instead of quarter notes. So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, then we'll count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And when we strum, we're still going to continue to do all down strums for now, but we're playing every eighth note. So that's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're going to do that for 2 bars for each of those chords. And that would sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A really useful technique that you can use to make your strumming sound a little bit tighter and a little bit more in control is what's called palm muting. Now, I have another video on my other channel about how to do palm muting, but we'll quickly take a look at it here. Palm muting means that you're going to be using this part of your hand to lightly touch against the strings as you're strumming. And you're going to have to move your hand back to around the bridge area in order to make this happen. If you're playing too close to the front of the strings over the sound hole area, you're just going to mute the strings and the notes aren't going to come out. So you need to take your hand and rest it right back here. I usually find that I can rest my hand right on this white piece here, which is called the saddle. Put your hand right on there, and then you sort of pivot your hand in that position. So you don't really have a big arm movement, you don't really have a lot of wrist, but it's a small movement like this. And most of the time with palm muting techniques, we focus mostly on the lower strings. That's going to give you the best sound. With that palm muting technique, our chords would sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Palm muting is a great way to add some rhythmic interest to your playing. On a song like this, I would suggest that you do that palm muting technique during the verse, and then once you get to the chorus, then you can open it up, make the chords a little bit bigger. Then when it comes back to the verse, you can tighten things up again and go back to that palm muting. I'll show you that more complicated rhythm that I was doing earlier at the beginning of the video a little bit later, but let's continue on now with just the rest of the chord changes using this simplified rhythm. So the verse section of the song starts with that B minor for 2 bars, G for 2 bars, back to B minor for 2 bars, G for 2 bars. Then the third time when we hit that B minor, we're going to play it for 1 bar, and then we're going to go to an A chord. So the A chord that I suggest for this song would be what's called an A2 chord. And so an A2 chord is played like this. So from the B minor chord that we were playing, you're just going to bring your index finger down 1 string and then just lift off your ring finger. And that'll give you the A2. We play that A2 chord for 1 bar and then we're back on to G again. So that section of the song would sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 that takes us to the pre-chorus section where we're going to be playing a few chords with just individual strums. So we're going to be playing one bar on each of these chords, but we're just going to play it once and let it ring out. So the first chord is an E minor chord, which looks like this. And then we go to a D/F sharp chord, or D over F sharp is sometimes called. And that just means you're going to move your index finger up one string, and your other fingers are going to be in the same spot that they were for that B minor chord. So the B minor we had like this, the D over F sharp, we're just going to move that index finger up one. And so that would sound like this. And again, we don't really want that high E string ringing, so we can use that part of our index finger just to mute that out. After the D over F sharp, then we go to this G chord. And we end up on the G chord for 2 full bars. And that leads us right into the chorus. So that pre-chorus section would sound like this. E minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, D over F sharp, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that leads us to the chorus, which will be going to a D chord. The chorus alternates between D major and G major. There's one B minor in there as well that I'll show you. But most of the chorus we alternate between D and G, playing each of them for 2 bars. So there, if we keep the rhythm going with eighth notes, we won't do the palm muting now, we'll just keep it open, then we would have this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. We're going to alternate between those D and G chords 3 times. On the 4th time, we're going to go to that B minor, either B minor like this, or B minor bar chord, whichever you want to do, and then from that B minor to the G. So basically on that 4th time, we play a B minor instead of D. So that leads us back to the verse, which is played the same as the first verse. Now we're going to go back to using that palm muting technique, get more of this sound. And then we get to the chorus again, we would open it back up and play with those bigger chords. Now if you're ready for a little bit more of a challenge, you can try the more complicated rhythm that I was playing at the beginning of the video. And that goes like this. Now you can see I was playing that using the B minor bar chord instead of this B minor. I find that I just prefer the sound of that, but you can also play this using this B minor chord. With our right hand, we're going to be using that same technique that we talked about earlier called palm muting, where we're using the side of our palm to rest against the bridge area of the guitar. Kind of mutes the strings a little bit. We're going to be focusing mostly on the lower strings for each of these chords. That'll give us more of that percussive sound. Now, another really important aspect to this is that you want to grip the pick maybe with a little bit more of a grip than you usually do. You don't want a lot of the pick to be exposed out of the end of your thumb here because you don't want to have a lot of movement in the pick. You want it to be a little bit more rigid and not quite give as much. So grip the pick a little bit more than you would so you don't have quite as much exposed on the end. Let's try and get the movement of the pick down first. So let's just mute the strings with our left hand. So we have this sound. And let's just work on getting that strum down. So the basic pattern goes like this. Down, 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 up, up, down, down, up, down, up. Down, 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 up, up, down, down, up, down, up. So that's a repeating pattern that just keeps happening the same way over and over again. So try and slow that down and really get used to making that movement with your hand before you even try doing it with the chords. So slow down a little bit more. That would be like this. Down, 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 up, up, down, down, up, down, up. Down, 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 up, up, down, down, up, down, up. A little bit quicker would be like this. Down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up. With the B minor chord, that would sound like this. Down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up. And then up to speed would sound like this. That's the whole song. I hope that you found this video useful and that you enjoy playing this song. If you did like this video, then please let us know by clicking on the like button, leave a comment below, share this video, subscribe to our channel. You can also check out our other channel, Studio 33 Guitar, which has more tips and tricks about theory and technique. And also visit our website, studio33guitar.com, where we've got lots of other free videos and video lessons on there that you can enjoy. Thanks for watching.